This is Death by Family Ties, a hilarious feel-good cozy mystery, Island Whodunit, Book 16, written by Tess Marlowe and narrated by Sarah.
Hi, Tess Marlowe here. Before Chapter 1 begins, please take 1 second to look at your screen and hit subscribe. It helps me bring you more free cozy mysteries.
Chapter 1. The late afternoon light draped over the porch in long ribbons of gold. Alex sipped her hot herbal tea, turning pages of yet another paperback thriller. Bombay snored under the table, twitching occasionally as if chasing criminals in his sleep. It was a rare, peaceful hour, right until the sound of flip-flops slapped up the path like approaching thunder. "Brace yourself," Reg muttered from the hammock, opening one eye. "That's the sound of incoming drama." Shannon burst through the gate, clutching a hefty leather planner, a rare choice for her. "I need help," she declared, "and possibly a tranquilizer." Alex closed her book with a soft thud. "Hi, Shannon." "I'm serious." She dropped onto the nearest chair. "Thanksgiving is ruined." Reg opened the second eye. "It's still 4 days away." "Exactly, that's how bad it is already." She flipped open her planner, pages crammed with sticky notes and highlights. "I invited Mom and Dad over and even got them plane tickets. This weekend was supposed to be perfect. I planned the menu, the seating, even the playlist. Soft jazz, not the depressing kind, and I had an itinerary. Museum on Friday, lunch at the Golden Fig, beach day on Saturday. A wholesome, classy island Thanksgiving to prove to my parents that their eldest daughter is finally thriving." Alex exchanged a look with Reg over her cup. "Let me guess," she said gently. "Something changed?" "I just got a call from my mom," Shannon groaned. "They're bringing my sister." Reg blinked. "You have a sister?" "Unfortunately," Shannon slumped forward. "I try not to advertise it." Alex smiled carefully. "Why not?" "Because—" Shannon took a long drink from her water bottle. "She's the golden child, the prodigy, the human epitome of an impeccable LinkedIn profile." Reg sat up. "That bad, huh?" "Worse. She was born 5 years after me, which apparently gave my parents time to perfect the recipe." She gestured vaguely. "She's the second pancake. Perfectly round, evenly browned, photogenic. I'm the first one. The wonky test pancake you eat over the sink." Alex laughed softly. "That's a bit harsh." "Tell that to my mom. She still introduces me as our creative one, which is a parental code for makes questionable life choices, but seems happy about them." Bombay stirred, cracked one amber eye, and exhaled a heavy sigh. Shannon pointed at him. "See? Even the dog pities me." "Does he?" Reg asked. "Or is that the sigh of a dog that knows a thing or two about family drama?" "I'm not exaggerating," Shannon said, sitting up straighter. "My sister's basically an inspirational quote in human form. Brilliant, driven, the kind of person who jogs at sunrise and never sweats. She got her degree in architecture, mind you. That's a very grown-up field. Now she has her own condo in Chicago and sends Christmas cards printed on recycled linen." Alex's brows lifted. "And you two aren't close?" "Close?" Shannon gave a short laugh. "She once told me my art is underwhelming. I told her her personality is too." Reg grinned. "So it's mutual affection." "Something like that." Shannon sagged back in her chair. "I just wanted one peaceful Thanksgiving. My parents, Lucien, maybe a little wine, no performance reviews, and now she's coming, which means everything I do will be wrong by default. My tablecloth will be too bright, my turkey too dry, my life choices too art teachery." Alex tilted her head. "You have great taste. Your turkey will turn out just fine, and you make stellar life choices. No need to be nervous." "I'm not nervous," Shannon said quickly. "I'm strategically panicked." "Ah," Reg said. "The healthy kind." She ignored him. "I just wanted them to see that I have my life together now. New house, steady job, an amazing boyfriend who's not a struggling artist. For once, I wanted them to leave saying, 'Look how happy Shannon is,' instead of, 'Maybe she'll grow out of this art phase before retirement.'" Alex's voice softened. "You know they love you." Sure, Shannon said. They love me the way people love rescue cats, out of compassion and pity. Reg coughed to hide a laugh. And now, she went on, my sister's coming to demonstrate the superiority of her life choices in real time. She'll probably bring a slideshow. You don't know that, Alex said. I do. Last Christmas she gave a slideshow of her current achievements and goals for next year, PowerPoint transitions and everything. Shannon's voice pitched up. My mother asked if she could email it to relatives. Reg raised an eyebrow. I'd pay to see that. You're not helping. He spread his hands. Just assessing the threat level. Shannon pulled out her phone, scrolling furiously. Look, this is her LinkedIn headline, Transforming Urban Landscapes Through Sustainable Innovation. Meanwhile, mine says, teaches watercolor and gets paint on everything. Alex smiled. That's an honest tagline. It's a humiliating tagline, Shannon said. She's probably going to bring one of those boyfriends who quotes The Economist at dinner. Alex sipped her tea. You're sure you're not projecting a little? She shot her a look. I'd bet good wine he has a symmetrical haircut and opinions about municipal bonds. Alex leaned forward, elbows on her knees. So, what are you really worried about? The dinner or being compared? Shannon hesitated, then sighed. Both. Mostly the second. Every time we're in the same room, I turn into a high school version of myself. Awkward, defensive, trying too hard. She'll talk about her projects. I'll spill gravy on my dress. It's cosmic law. Bombay let out a low groan, as if he'd seen this movie before. Anyway, Shannon said, straightening, that's why I came here. I need backup. Backup? Reg echoed. Emotional reinforcement. I need you two to come to dinner, be buffers, keep the conversation moving so my mother doesn't start a compare and contrast segment before dessert. Alex blinked. You're serious? I'm desperate. Reg pretended to think. What's in it for us? A full Thanksgiving meal that I will cook from scratch. He gave a slow nod. Tempting. With real cranberry sauce, she added, not the can-shaped kind. Sold. Alex swatted his arm. We'll be there, she said to Shannon. But you have to promise one thing. Anything. Stop measuring yourself against your sister. You've built a life here you actually love. That counts for more than all the rooftop gardens in Chicago. Shannon's eyes softened. You think so? I know so, Alex said. Also, Lucien's adorable when he's trying to impress parents. That's a bonus. Shannon smiled, small but genuine. Thank you, I mean it. Of course, Alex said. What's family for, if not to witness your slow unraveling over poultry? Reg raised his glass. To the first wonky pancake. She laughed. You know what? I'll take that. Chapter 2. By late afternoon, the island air had that heavy tropical stillness that made even time move slower. The only sounds on Alex's porch were Bombay's rhythmic snoring and the occasional clink of Reggie's glass as he fished for ice. That peace lasted exactly 6 seconds after Shannon arrived. The garden gate banged open, followed by a flurry of perfume, panic, and the unmistakable jingle of way too many bracelets. She was talking so fast she almost forgot to breathe in between. Do you still have that good silverware? The one with the little flower things on the handles? Or, wait, your blue dress, the wrap one with sleeves. You can say no, but also please say yes. Alex blinked. Hello to you too. It's an emergency. Shannon dropped into a chair, fanning herself with a folded napkin. I just met my parents at the airport. Reg raised a brow. And, she said, dragging out the word. They weren't alone. Alex set down her glass. You already told us they're bringing your sister. And if that was not enough, she brought a fiancé, Shannon said with horror in her voice. A very fancy fiancé, and a diamond the size of a doorknob for a giant door. Reg whistled. Guess the golden child outdid herself again. Oh, you have no idea. Shannon rubbed her forehead. He was helping my mom with her luggage, my dad was calling him son, and I was there like, hello, You haven't seen me for almost a year." "Fiancé, huh? Did you know she was engaged?" "No. Apparently it happened last month and she forgot to tell me. You know, the way people forget to pick up milk. Meanwhile, my parents are over the moon and She gestured helplessly. "I'm hosting Thanksgiving in a house that looks like an arts and crafts explosion." Reg laughed. "To be fair, that's your brand." "Not helping," she snapped, then immediately softened. "Sorry, Look, they got a whole villa at the Golden Palms, private plunge pool, chef, the works, and my parents were supposed to stay with me, but now they're staying with Bree and Ethan, which means my dinner and all the weekend plans look like an afterthought." "You're overthinking it," Alex said gently. "I'm under-hosting it," Shannon corrected. "They'll come from their luxury suite with ocean views, and I'll serve turkey in my backyard next to a drying rack full of paintbrushes. I might as well put a sign out that says, 'The struggling sibling.'" Bombay stretched and groaned, clearly sensing incoming drama. Shannon dropped her bag on the table and started pacing. "I just wanted one day that went right. And now my sister's engaged to the human embodiment of a luxury tax break." Alex stood, moving toward the closet. "You can borrow the blue dress?" "Really?" "Yes, but only if you promise to go easy on yourself." "I can do that later," Shannon muttered, clutching it like a life raft. Reg poured another iced tea and pushed it toward her. "So, tell us about him." "Tall, polished, probably never had a stain on anything in his life. He wears loafers, on an island. You can smell the wealth." Alex smiled faintly. "That's not a smell, Shannon." Reg leaned back. "And what does Lucien think?" "Lucien," she said darkly, "thinks I'm overreacting. He said, and I quote, 'Let's give them a chance.'" She rolled her eyes. "He's lucky he's cute." Alex laughed softly. "You're nervous because you care. That's not a bad thing." "I just wanted to show them I'm doing fine." Shannon's voice cracked, and for a heartbeat the performance dropped. "That I'm not the messy one. That my life's not smaller." Reg looked up. "Smaller than what?" "Than hers," Shannon said simply. Then, with a deep breath, she stood and squared her shoulders. "Okay, I need to go baste something before I emotionally unravel in your kitchen." Alex squeezed her arm. "We'll be there in an hour." Shannon nodded, half grateful, half doomed. "Bring wine, lots of it." By the time Alex and Reg reached Shannon's garden, Lucien greeted them with the calm expression of a man who'd already surrendered to fate. Inside, Shannon's voice floated from the kitchen. "No, Dad, it's fine. That plate was decorative." Alex whispered, "We're late to a live performance." Reg muttered, "Dinner theater, family edition." They stepped outside. Mrs. Price was adjusting napkins with the precision of a surgeon. "Sweetheart," she said to Shannon, "you did such a lovely job. I mean, the table's quaint. It's very you. So creative." Shannon froze halfway through lighting a candle. "Thanks, Mom." Her father beamed from the head of the table, camera in hand. "Look at this. Island Thanksgiving. The light here's incredible, kiddo. I'm gonna frame this." Mrs. Price frowned. "Just don't, Harold. I'll use the level this time, I promise." Shannon's sister Bree looked like she stepped out of a glossy magazine. "Shannon!" Bree sang out, inspecting the tiny unit. "Oh my gosh, this is adorable. You really made it work out here, huh?" Alex saw Shannon's smile stiffen. "Thanks," she said. "We call it rustic minimalism." Ethan chuckled. "That's what I told Bree about my college apartment, though mine didn't have such charming art." He nodded at the half-finished canvas propped against the wall. "That one's actually commissioned for a lumpy sum," Reg said. Ethan blinked. "Excuse me?" "It's all right, buddy." Reg clapped Ethan's shoulder. "Not everyone has an inherent appreciation for art." Mrs. Price clapped her hands. "Shall we eat before it gets cold? I read that turkey dries quickly in humid climates." "Not this one," Shannon said tightly. Everyone took their seats. Alex ended up beside Mrs. Price, close enough to smell her floral perfume and quiet judgment. Reg sat next to Harold, who immediately leaned in to show photos of a pelican they saw at the hotel. "So," Mrs. Price began, slicing her turkey with delicate disdain, "how are the art classes, dear? Still with the children?" "Actually, I have students of all ages now." "Oh, that's nice. So fulfilling. Bree was just saying how important early education is, weren't you, honey?" Bree dabbed her mouth. "Completely. I told my firm we should sponsor an art program. Maybe you could give me pointers." Alex winced. Shannon smiled thinly. "Sure, first pointer. Don't call it a program like it's a charity." Lucien coughed into his napkin. Harold tried to redirect. "This turkey's great, kiddo. Moist. Really moist." "Dad," Bree said sweetly, "maybe don't say moist at dinner." "Oh, sorry," he said, blushing. "Tender, then." Ethan leaned back. "I've always admired people who can cook. I mean, I'd never have the patience for all this. I'd just order room service." Reg glanced at him. "And miss the fun of family bonding? Tragic." Mrs. Price laughed too loudly. "Ethan's just teasing. He's so witty. Isn't he witty, Harold?" "Sure, dear," Harold said, refilling his wine. "Witty guy." The conversation limped through topics like wounded soldiers, safe until it wasn't. Mrs. Price asked Alex if she and Reg were feeling fulfilled living off their pensions. Bree explained her firm's massive overseas expansion. Shannon's father told a long story about airport security confiscating his scissors. Halfway through dessert, Bree announced brightly, "We should probably get going. Ethan booked us the Thanksgiving dinner and show at the Golden Palms. It's supposed to be spectacular, flamenco dancers and everything." Mrs. Price clasped her hands. "How wonderful! I told you, Harold, staying at the resort is a great idea." "You did," he said, several times. Shannon's voice came out small. "You're leaving? But you haven't even—" "Oh, we'll see you tomorrow," Bree said. "Don't look so worried. Everything was lovely." Ethan stood, slipping on his jacket. "Great meal, Shannon. Very authentic." Reg's jaw tightened. "Authentic's one word for it." Alex shot him a warning look, but Shannon was already nodding. "Thanks for coming," she managed. Bree kissed the air beside her cheek. "Maybe you'll visit us at the resort one of these days. Of course, we'll pay for it." And then they were gone, her mother fussing with her purse, her father promising to text when they arrived. The limo headlights flared briefly against the palms and disappeared down the road. Silence. Lucien exhaled first. "Well, Reg said. "Could have gone worse." "How?" Shannon asked flatly. "If Loco peed on Ethan's Gucci loafers?" Reg snorted. "I would pay good money to see his face." Alex reached across the table and squeezed Shannon's hand. "The important thing is, it's over." Lucien stood, rubbing her shoulders. "You did great, babe. The food was perfect." "Yeah," she said softly. "Too bad the guests weren't—" Reg lifted his glass. "To the first wonky pancake still holding her shape." Shannon smiled, exhausted but touched. "Thanks, Reg. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me and carbs." Alex rose, collecting plates. "We'll help clean up. Then you're going to sit down, have a drink, and cheer on you making it through." "Let's have the drinks first." Chapter 3. "I still can't believe they left before dessert," Shannon said the next morning, adding more sugar to her coffee than usual. "Who leaves before pie?" "People with limos," Reg said. Shannon gave him a look over the rim of her cup, then sighed. "I guess." Lucien hid a smile behind his mug. "At least we can put it all behind us and have a great weekend." "Barely," she said. "Should I pick them up for sightseeing? Or just wait to see if they remember they actually came to visit me, not Bree, Ethan, and his loafers?" Alex laughed softly. "Maybe give it a few hours." "Or a few years," Reg said. "You could send them postcards." Shannon let out a long sigh. "To be honest, I just want to crawl into my studio and paint over my feelings." Lucien reached over, squeezing her hand. "Do whatever you feel like doing. You don't owe them anything." "Not owing parents anything is such a foreign concept," Reg said. Alex grinned. And that right there is the generational gap. Reg opened his mouth, but before he could deliver what was surely going to be a bad joke, Shannon's phone started buzzing across the table. She glanced at the screen. Dad. She hesitated, then swiped to answer. Hey, Dad. Morning. Morning, kiddo, came the hesitant reply, his voice a little too quiet. Sorry, did I wake you? No, we're all up, she said. Is everything okay? Well, There was a pause, a soft shuffle like he'd covered the mouthpiece. It's probably nothing. Your mother's just a little worked up. Shannon's posture straightened. What happened? Ethan's not in the villa, he said finally. He didn't come back last night. Lucian's head lifted immediately. Reg stopped mid-sip. What do you mean he didn't come back? Shannon asked. We woke up around 7, her father said. Your mother made coffee, Bree went to check on him and, well, his bed hasn't been slept in. No sign of him. The staff says they didn't see him come in after dinner. We thought maybe he went for a walk, but it's been hours. They have separate bedrooms? Reg whispered. Shannon shushed him and frowned. Did you call the resort front desk? Her dad hesitated again. Your mother's talking to them now. Bree's, well, she's upset, of course. I'm just not sure it's a good idea for you to come by right now, honey. It might add insult to injury, you know? Insult to injury? Shannon repeated. Dad, you make it sound like I left him in a ditch. No, I didn't mean it that way, he said quickly. It's just, your mother says Bree's very emotional and it might be better to give her space. Shannon pressed her palm to her forehead. Of course she's emotional, he's missing. And you're, what, having coffee about it? Now, don't get worked up, he said gently. We'll figure it out. He probably just… Overslept? Shannon snapped. At another resort? In another dimension? Lucien reached out a hand in quiet warning. She took a breath, pinching the bridge of her nose. Okay, fine, she said finally. Keep me posted. Will do, he said. We would love to see you and Lucien. It's just… Your mother thinks it'll make Bree feel worse. Right, Shannon said flatly. Wouldn't want to upset Bree. Love you, kiddo. Love you too, Dad, she muttered and hung up. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Only Bombay's tail thumped lazily against the deck. Reg finally said, That didn't sound like a normal missing fiancé situation. Shannon let out a shaky laugh. Normal? My parents are babysitting my grown sister like she's 5, and I'm the family embarrassment for existing within a 50-mile radius. Alex leaned forward. Hey, this isn't about you. It's always about her, Shannon said bitterly. When Javier drowned, nobody thought to fly in or check on me. I got a 2-minute call from Mom that started with, well, these things happen. But now Bree's boyfriend doesn't come home for one night, and it's a family emergency. She gets a villa, sympathy, and my parents' undivided attention. Lucien tried to calm her down. Sean. I know, she said quickly, wiping at her eye. I'm being ridiculous, but it's just… Sometimes it's like they only remember I exist when something goes wrong. Reg cleared his throat softly. Well, he said, something just went wrong. She glared at him, but before she could respond, Lucien's phone buzzed on the table. He looked down at the screen. Mendoza, Lucien answered. Morning, boss. Morning. Sorry to wake you early on your day off, but I need a quick check. We've got a body washed up on the shore in front of the Golden Palms Resort. Male, mid-30s, wallet and ID in his pocket. I need to confirm if the name matches someone local. Lucien's gaze flicked to Shannon before he spoke. What's the name? Ethan Caldwell. Lucien swallowed once. Understood. I'll run the check. Mendoza hesitated. He's fully dressed. This wasn't a random drowning. Anyway, let me know. The call ended with a faint click. Shannon stared at him. What did she say? Lucien didn't answer right away. He set the phone down, rubbed his jaw, and looked at her the same way Mendoza looked at people when delivering bad news on duty. Sean, they found a body by the Golden Palms. Her face went still. A body? He nodded. Mendoza needs a confirmation, but she said the ID was Ethan's. Alex's hand flew to her mouth. Reg cursed under his breath. Shannon blinked once, twice, like her brain was trying to reject the words. Then she whispered, "You've got to be kidding me." Lucien reached for her hand, but she was already standing. "Oh no," she said, shaking her head. No, this can't. He's not." "Sean," Alex said softly, rising. "Take a breath." Her voice cracked. "They left dinner early for some fancy show, and now he's dead?" Lucien stood beside her, calm but pale. "We don't know if it's really him yet." "Yes, we do," she said, hollow. "Because that's how it goes, doesn't it? Every time I plan something good, someone ends up—" She stopped, voice faltering. Reg moved quietly to the counter, grabbing his keys. "I'll drive," he said. Lucien nodded. "We'll call Mendoza on the way." Shannon looked between them, the morning light catching on her trembling hands. "I wanted this weekend to be perfect," she whispered. "And now my sister's going to remember it for the rest of her life." Chapter 4. The crime scene at the Golden Palms Resort was a strange thing to look at in daylight. Sunlight glittering on turquoise water, the faint hum of a steel drum band from the breakfast terrace, and bright yellow police tape slicing across the sand like an ugly scar. Mendoza stood near the surf, hands on her hips, as two uniformed officers collected evidence bags. Behind her, the body of Ethan Caldwell lay covered with the coroner's tarp, his designer shoes still visible from beneath the edge. Reg, Alex, Lucien, Shannon, and Bombay approached along the boardwalk, their footsteps slowing as the reality settled in. Bombay's tail drooped as they stopped just short of the cordon. Mendoza turned as they arrived. "Let me guess," she said dryly. "You didn't come for the buffet." "You called, boss. We came." "You specifically asked for a day off to meet your future in-laws," she said, arching an eyebrow. "Then ended up voluntarily showing up at my crime scene?" Reg and Alex exchanged a look at the in-laws comment. Lucien sighed. "There's a reason for it. That has nothing to do with me being a workaholic, which I most certainly am not." Mendoza looked concerned. "Which is?" Shannon swallowed. "Ethan Caldwell is my sister's fiancé." The word still sounded foreign in her mouth. "They were staying here with my parents." Mendoza's expression softened just slightly. "I'm sorry." Then, brisk again, "When did you last see him?" "Last night," Shannon said. "At dinner. They left early to go back to the resort for some dinner show thing." Mendoza nodded. "So somewhere between dessert and dawn, he ended up here." She glanced toward the sea. "Not much of a swimmer, apparently." Lucien frowned. "You think he went for a moonlight swim?" Mendoza pulled the sheet back just far enough to reveal a damp cuff and a flash of dark fabric. "He's wearing a Xenia suit and Gucci loafers," she said flatly. "Unless he planned to drown in style, I'd say no." Reg crouched near the tape. "I guess tide's already washed out most of the evidence." "Yeah," Mendoza said. "Resort security found him just before sunrise. No sign of a struggle nearby. He probably went in somewhere else and drifted down." Alex folded her arms, looking toward the water. "Could he have fallen? Maybe off the rocks or the jetty?" "Maybe," Mendoza said. "It's too early to judge." She turned to Crane, who was struggling to wheel the stretcher over the damp sand. "Elliot, you got a preliminary cause?" "Come on, Angela, I can't give you anything while he's soaking wet. Give me an hour." Then he spotted Bombay and smiled. "Hi, doggo." Lucien crouched beside Reg, eyeing the edges of the sand. "Anything on him besides ID?" "Wallet, hotel keycard, no signs of a phone." "That's weird," Shannon said. "He could have dropped it during the fall. It could have slipped from his pocket and sunk." "Or someone took it." Mendoza looked at her. "That's one possibility." Alex reached out gently, brushing Shannon's sleeve. "Had he ever been to San Malvino before?" "No," Shannon said. "I literally met him yesterday. I don't even know what he does exactly. Something in crypto, I think. He and Bree live in Chicago." Reg muttered, "Crypto bro in a Xenia suit. That tracks." Mendoza ignored him. "You said your sister's at the resort?" "Yes," Shannon said. She's staying in one of the villas with my parents." "Then we'll need to speak to her," Mendoza said, "preferably before the news hits the hotel staff gossip chain. This place leaks faster than an encrypted message chain." Lucien nodded grimly. "We'll take you there." "I can handle this alone." Shannon shook her head. "No, she's my sister. I should be there for her." There was a quiet pause. Finally, Mendoza said softly, "All right, let's deliver the news." The Golden Palms Platinum Villa looked like a magazine photo spread. White walls, blue shutters, a small plunge pool glinting behind glass doors. From inside came the sound of Shannon's mother's voice, bright and oblivious. "Oh, Harold, we can't go sightseeing today," she was saying. "Ethan's still missing. Bree hardly slept at all." Shannon exchanged a look with Lucien. Missing, not dead. Her father opened the door, surprised. "Honey, you ended up coming anyway, and brought friends." Shannon stepped inside. "We need to talk about Ethan." "Oh, sweetheart, what's there to talk about?" her mother said, appearing from the kitchen with a mug of coffee. "Honestly, men can be so thoughtless. We've been worried sick. Bree's beside herself. He didn't even text." Her tone had that blend of concern and exasperation usually reserved for lost luggage. Shannon drew a slow breath. "Can we sit down for a second?" Her mother blinked. "Of course, dear. Is this about the sightseeing schedule? Because really, today's not a good—" "Mom," Shannon's voice cracked. "It's about Ethan." That stopped her. Her father's smile faltered. Bree appeared from the hallway, pale and unkempt, wearing an oversized resort robe. Her eyes darted between them. "What about him?" Shannon hesitated. Every word felt like a rock in her throat. "They found him this morning, on the beach." Bree's face went blank. "Found him?" "He drowned," Shannon said softly. "I'm so sorry." For a moment, no one breathed. Then Bree's voice came, small and trembling. No, that's not possible. He doesn't even know how to swim." Her mother clutched her chest. "Oh, my lord." Then, without missing a beat, "Are you sure? Maybe it's someone else's—" "It's him," Shannon said quietly. Bree's composure cracked. No, this is your fault." Shannon blinked. "What?" "If you hadn't invited us for Thanksgiving, he wouldn't even be here." Bree's voice rose, sharp and trembling. "You had to play hostess, show off your little island life, and now he's... "Bree," her father began. "Stop," Shannon said, her own voice shaking. "You think I wanted this?" "Everything goes wrong around you," Bree snapped. "You always drag chaos wherever you go." Mendoza stepped forward then, her tone firm but calm. "I'm sorry to interrupt. Detective Mendoza, San Malvino Police Department." Bree turned toward her, still breathing hard. Mendoza's voice softened a notch. "I'm very sorry for your loss. I know this is a shock, but there are a few questions we need to ask while things are fresh. Is that all right?" Bree hesitated, then nodded, dazed. "Thank you." Mendoza pulled out her notebook. "Can you tell me how long you knew Ethan?" "About 3 months," Bree said faintly. "We met at work. I was consulting on a rooftop garden project for his office building." Mendoza jotted it down. "And he'd never been to San Malvino before?" "No," Bree said. "This was his first time." "Do you know if he had any family we can contact?" Bree hesitated. "He mentioned a sister once. I never met her. I was supposed to meet his family at Christmas." Mendoza nodded, writing quietly. "All right, that's helpful." Shannon's father sat down heavily on the couch, muttering, "My God." Her mother stepped in, smoothing her blouse with trembling hands. "Detective, we appreciate your professionalism, but this is a lot for us right now. Could we maybe answer your questions later?" Mendoza looked up, her expression unreadable. "Of course. I understand." She closed her notebook gently. "We'll give you some space. I'll be in touch once we have preliminary findings." Her mother nodded, clutching Bree's arm protectively, already ushering her toward the bedroom. Shannon stood rooted to the spot. As the group stepped outside, the villa door shut softly behind them. "Well, that went about as well as Thanksgiving dinner," Reg muttered. Shannon exhaled, shaking her head. "Did you hear it? She blames me." Alex touched her shoulder. She's grieving. People say stupid things when they're hurting. She always says stupid things. That's the problem. Chapter 5. They stood in front of the villa for a while. So, what now? Alex asked. Well, since we can't interview the people who saw Ethan last, we can at least take a look at the security footage. Smells like scaring hotel managers' senseless kind of day. Reg said to no one in particular. Mendoza rolled her eyes at him. I'm not planning to scare anyone, Reginald. That is if they willingly cooperate. That's what she said. 10 minutes later, the general manager of the Golden Palms Luxury Resort and SPA was standing in front of them in his full might and confusion. Detective Mendoza, he greeted quickly. Such an unfortunate situation. The Golden Palms prides itself on safety, of course. I'm sure you do, she interrupted. One of your guests was found dead on your private beach. I need full access to the camera footage from last night. Lobby, dining areas, the Coliseum, and the villa corridors. He blinked. All of them? All of them, she said. Unless you want to explain to the press how your 5-star security missed a homicide? The man swallowed. Of course. It will take a few hours to compile. Our IT department. I'll wait, Mendoza said flatly. He nodded nervously and scurried off. Reg watched him go. You didn't even threaten to shut them down. I'm impressed. Fear of publicity does half my job, she said, checking her watch. In the meantime, I'd rather look through the victim's belongings. Lucien frowned. They asked for some privacy, remember? Right, she said. So until I can get inside that villa without traumatizing Shannon's family, the next best thing is whatever he had in his pockets. She pulled out her phone and hit speed dial. Elliot, did you manage to bag everything? That I did, Angela. Wallet, watch, suit, shoes, and undergarments blow-dried, bagged and tagged and waiting for you at the police station. You even managed to send them over? Let's say I'm in a good mood today. The police station's evidence room looked like something between a pawn shop and Grandma's walk-in closet. Mendoza donned gloves and carefully unsealed the first evidence bag. The wallet was still a bit damp. Let's see what we got here. Inside were 4 credit cards, all under a different name, and a driver's license from Nevada, issued 2 months ago. Mendoza frowned. He either had multiple personalities or a fraud problem. Lucien raised an eyebrow. Nevada? I thought they lived in Chicago? We'll need to double-check on that, Mendoza said. Lucien shuffled through the credit cards. 2 Visas, 1 Amex, 1 MasterCard, none of which are in his name. He paused. Wait. This one's Bree Price. Mendoza took the card, holding it up under the light. Issued last month. That's interesting. Lucien flipped through the rest. These others are under names like Daniel Sorkin, Meredith Williams, and Thomas Kiefer. Want me to run them? Yeah, Mendoza said. Check in the database we officially don't have access to. See if any of those names get flagged. Reg leaned against the wall, watching as Mendoza emptied the next bag. The wristwatch caught the fluorescent light. Fancy, Lucien muttered. Xenia suit, Gucci shoes, and a watch that probably costs... Nothing, Reg interrupted. Both Mendoza and Lucien looked up. Reg stepped closer, lifting the watch with a pencil. He tilted it toward the lamp. That's a pretty masterful knockoff. Mendoza smirked. Did you attend horology classes in Kandahar? No. Reg rolled his eyes. But my dad has a penchant for Swiss watches. Started collecting them earlier than his collection of much younger wives. Lucien leaned in. How can you tell it's a knockoff? Reg laid the watch back at the table and started pointing. Logo's slightly crooked. Maybe just a few degrees, but it matters. The crown engraving's shallow, and see this? He tapped the bezel. The lume. Supposed to glow smooth green. This one's blotchy. The case is plated, not steel. Hence a knockoff. Mendoza studied it. Why would he need a fake luxury watch when he got all this designer clothing? Clothing is not that expensive in the grand scheme of things, and you can always find a deal, Reg said. The watch was an investment he probably couldn't afford. Mendoza made a note. So he was trying to impress someone. Maybe Bree? Lucien asked. She's the kind who would be impressed by designer knickknacks. Could be, Mendoza said, but from what I gathered, she is not a fool. Maybe those people from the credit cards? That's a more plausible option. So this is not an accidental slip and fall? Lucien asked. We'll know for sure after Crane sends in his report. She looked at the driver's license again. But I think we got a murder. Chapter 6. You could hear the electricity buzz in Lucien's new office. 2 huge screens, a rack of servers, and a mini fridge all crammed up in what used to be a broom closet. The janitor loved Lucien, so he agreed to get by with just one. Lucien rubbed his eyes and leaned back from the screen. I went through all the names on those credit cards. Daniel Sorkin, Meredith Williams, Thomas Kiefer, they're all real people. No criminal records, no aliases, no connection to each other. Mendoza leaned on the doorframe. Regular citizens? As regular as they come, he said. One's an accountant in Kansas City, one owns a flower shop in North Carolina, and the last is a retiree in Florida. Reg raised a brow. That's quite a geography. I went through the financial cyberforensics database to see if there was any flagged activity, Lucien went on, and there was none. All of their credit cards are still active with no flagged activity, which means Ethan cloned the numbers. He didn't steal the physical cards. A bit old school, but he was definitely smart enough to stay below the radar. Did you get their contact details? Sure. Lucien gave Mendoza a sticky note with 3 phone numbers. All right, let's see if they ever met Ethan Caldwell. Mendoza put the first call on speaker. Daniel Sorkin speaking. Mr. Sorkin, this is Detective Angela Mendoza from the San Malvino Police Department. I'm calling regarding a man named Ethan Caldwell. A pause. Can't say I know that name. She turned on the video and showed him the photo. What about this man? Another pause. Oh, well, I know him, yes, but that's not his name. He introduced himself as Ryan Eastman. He came to a small business expo last spring, representing some new investment group. Meridian Partners. Seemed legit. Had brochures, business cards, even an ATM with the company logo on it. An ATM? Mendoza repeated. Yeah, a portable one. Said it let you deposit directly into your crypto portfolio. I put in my card, chose the cryptocurrencies he suggested, typed the amount, and it printed a receipt. Lucien mouthed, wow. Did you ever see returns on that investment? Mendoza asked. Not yet, Daniel said awkwardly. He said the market was slow, but he sends monthly updates. Could you forward me one? Sure thing, Detective. Is he in trouble? Mendoza's tone softened. He was found dead on our island. We're trying to understand what he was involved in. Oh, Daniel's voice shrank. I'm sorry to hear that. He seemed like a good kid. Mendoza thanked him, ended the call, and looked up. Reg whistled. Portable ATM? That's new. Fake ATM, Lucien said. More like a fancy card copier with a friendly user interface. The second call went to voicemail twice before a nervous woman finally answered. Hello? Who's this? Detective Mendoza, San Malvino Police Department, ma'am. I'm calling about a man named Ethan Caldwell. Oh dear. San Malvino Police? Ethan who? Mendoza sent the photo to her phone. Oh, that's Eli Carter. He was at the Green Trade Summit in Raleigh. Said he was helping local businesses go digital. Meredith laughed shakily. I thought that meant a website. Turns out he meant investments. What sort of investments? He had this little ATM-looking thing, right there at his stand. Said I could link my business card to a growth wallet. Minimum $200 to start. I figured, why not? He even gave me a printed slip with a tracking number. And since then? I haven't heard a peep since. Mendoza took notes. Did you ever get any letters or emails from a company called Meridian Partners? No, this one was something called Eastman Holdings. Meredith sighed. He seemed so polite. Young men in nice suits always sound sincere. Alex murmured, That's their superpower. Reg nodded. And their downfall. Mendoza muted the speaker and looked at Lucien. Same M.O., same machine. The Florida number picked up on the first ring. A warm baritone greeted them. Tom Kiefer speaking. Mr. Kiefer, this is Detective Mendoza from the San Malvino Police Department. We're investigating a man known as Ethan Caldwell. Oh, Ethan! Fine young man! Is this about that Caribbean project? Mendoza glanced at Lucien. Yes, sir. Could you tell me about your dealings with him? Well, he came to the retirement center about 4 months back, gave a presentation in the lounge, charts, graphs, all that. Said he was building a fund for offshore real estate and crypto diversification. He helped half a dozen of us set up accounts on the spot using this portable kiosk he brought along. Said it was a secure interface directly to his fund. And you made deposits? Yes, ma'am. I put in 1,000 to start. He even mailed us laminated cards with login numbers. The old man chuckled. I haven't been able to get the website to load lately, though. Must be maintenance. Mendoza's pen paused. Mr. Kiefer, did the kiosk look like an ATM? Sort of. Looked really fancy and high-tech. Thank you for your time, Mendoza said gently. He hesitated. Is he all right, detective? She kept her tone professional. We're still determining that. Mendoza set her phone down and rubbed her temple. 3 victims, 3 aliases, same machine, same receipts, same promises. Lucien swiveled in his chair. Each gave between a few hundred and $1,000. Multiply that by a few hundred events, he could have raked in 6 figures easy, maybe more if he sold the card data. Reg crossed his arms. Small bites add up. Alex leaned on the edge of the desk, and he targeted people who wouldn't notice or wouldn't want to admit they'd been conned. Exactly, Mendoza said. Teachers, retirees, shop owners, anyone who'd feel flattered by an investment expert giving them attention. Lucien tapped the screen, showing a cluster of map pins. Those 3 aren't even close geographically. That means he was traveling constantly. I'm betting he used a cloned identity for airfare, too. Mendoza looked toward the window, where the late afternoon light painted bars across the floor. So he targeted people who would be ashamed to flag a transaction for a few $100s and would never think he's a fraud. Reg sighed. Simple, hard-working folk, hoping to make a bit extra on their hard-earned dollars. That's why the fake watch was more than enough to look impressive. Lucien nodded. Now we know what he did. What we don't know is who cared enough to stop him. Chapter 7. The hum of ceiling fans and the faint buzz of fluorescent lights filled the police station. Coffee cups stood like silent casualties across the desks. Lucien was half slouched in front of his monitor, scrolling through files that refused to give up any new answers. Mendoza paced, reading notes off her phone. The ringtone cut through the quiet. She snatched the receiver before the second buzz. Hey, Elliot, what you got? Crane's suspiciously cheerful voice came on the line. Evening, Angela. You sound chipper. Try again. He chuckled. All right. Figured you'd want the autopsy update before I clock out. Aren't you a mind reader? Give me the news. Well, the good news is, he drowned. There's water in the lungs. The bad news, there's a nice crack on his temporal bone. I'd say he was hit from the side, went down hard, blacked out, then ended up in the water. What kind of weapon? She asked. Something blunt, bat, maybe a metal rod. No jagged edges, no bone fragments. The hit stunned him but didn't kill him. No drugs, no alcohol in the tox screen yet, though I'll confirm tomorrow. Thanks, Elliot. You owe me a drink for working past dinner. You always say that but end up asking for the tres leches cake. 3 kids, Angela. Have a good night, Elliot. Mendoza turned to the group. So, cause of death, drowning. But there was a crack on his head. Lucien straightened. So someone hit him, he fell, and the tide did the rest? Could be, Mendoza said. Crane says he was struck from the side. Reg leaned back in his chair. Could be a mugging gone wrong. The perp hit him, grabbed the phone, and he fell into the water. Except the wallet and the watch were still on him, Alex pointed out. That's sloppy even for a local mugger. Maybe the thief panicked, Lucien said. Or maybe it wasn't about money. Mendoza tapped her pen against the table. To know that, we need his phone and the resort's security cameras. She looked at Lucien. Still nothing from Golden Palms? He checked his inbox and shook his head. Mendoza picked up her jacket. Then let's go scare the bejesus out of them. Reg grinned. I knew it would come to this. It took them about 10 minutes to get to the Golden Palms. The general manager was mingling at the lobby bar with what looked like very important clients. Mendoza silently stepped behind him and coughed. Detective Mendoza! He almost tripped over his own feet. What a surprise! You promised me the security footage, she said. That was 6 hours ago. Yes, about that. Our IT department is still processing the files. Mendoza leaned on the counter, lowering her voice just enough to make him sweat harder. Dr. Crane has already finished his autopsy. If your fancy IT department can't outpace a single government employee, you got a problem. He stammered. Not in front of the clients. Why not? She cut in. If I don't have those files in an hour, I'll be forced to call a press conference anyway. A foreigner washing up on your private beach is a big deal. Imagine tomorrow's headlines. 5-star resort hosts drowning delays police investigation. You think the tourists will still want your brunch buffet after that? The manager paled several shades. I'll have my staff prioritize it immediately. Good. Officer Carter here will be expecting. She turned on her heel. Lucien and Reg and Alex followed, trying not to smile. Outside, Lucien muttered, She should trademark that tone. Reg nodded. Corporate intimidation. Deluxe edition. Mendoza shot them both a look. You two done? Never, Reg said. They walked up the cobblestone path. Bree and Ethan's villa glowed softly from inside. Mendoza knocked once. After a pause, the door opened to reveal Mrs. Price, perfect hair, silk robe, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Detective, she said, cool as ever. I assume this isn't a social call? I need to speak with Bree. Mrs. Price sighed delicately. She's resting. The doctor prescribed something to help her sleep. She's been through a lot, you understand. Mendoza's tone stayed polite, but the warmth had left. It'll only take a few minutes. Tomorrow would be better, Mrs. Price said, blocking the doorway without looking like she was blocking it. She's sedated. Then please tell your daughter not to leave the resort, Mendoza said. We'll speak first thing in the morning. Mrs. Price inclined her head. Of course. The door closed softly but firmly. That was her polite way of saying, get lost, Lucien said. Mendoza adjusted her jacket. Then it's a good thing I'm done being polite. They turned back toward the path. The night air carried the faint sound of waves and distant laughter from the bar. She's hiding something, Alex said quietly. The mother or the daughter? Probably both. Poor Shannon. Chapter 8. The morning light spilled across the porch like honey, soft and lazy, the kind of light that made even yesterday's chaos seem like a half-remembered dream. A faint breeze stirred the bougainvillea vines. Bombay chased a crab in his sleep. Reg sat at the table, nursing his coffee and staring at the horizon. She's been in her studio since yesterday afternoon, he said finally. Didn't even come out for dinner. Alex set down a bowl of granola. That's how she copes. Paints until her thoughts run out. Thoughts or tears? Both, she said quietly. Reg leaned back, the chair creaking. I get it, but it's hard watching her spiral over something she didn't do. She's not spiraling, Alex said gently. She's processing. Bree blaming her was cruel, but Shannon's always been the family's scapegoat. Old habits die hard. He rubbed his temple. You'd think after 30 years her parents would learn to distribute disappointment more evenly. Alex gave a small smile. Families don't evolve, they just get better lighting for the dysfunction. That earned a chuckle, low and weary. Bombay gave a deep sigh under the table, the kind that said humans are hopeless, and Reg absently reached down to scratch his head. The sound of footsteps interrupted the quiet. Lucien appeared in the doorway, shirt untucked, hair sticking up, laptop under one arm. Morning, he mumbled. If that's coffee, I'll trade government secrets for it. Alex poured him a cup before he even sat down. You look like you slept in the evidence room." Almost. Mendoza scared the hotel manager so badly he sent the entire security archive at 4 a.m. from his personal email, alphabetized folders and time-stamped screenshots. I've never seen such a neat catalog. Reg smirked. Fear is a fine motivator. Lucien slumped into the chair opposite him, opening the laptop. It's all here. Restaurant footage, the Coliseum show, villa hallways, even the lobby bar. Alex leaned in. How's Shannon doing? She was asleep when I got back and she's still out. Lucien's rule 1 of crisis management. Don't wake grieving artists. Reg nodded sagely. Good rule. Before anyone could add more, the gate creaked open and Mendoza strode up, hair tied back, sunglasses perched on her head, and a paper cup in hand. She looked exactly like someone who'd slept less than everyone but still won the morning. Good, she said, sliding into a chair. You started without me. We were just warming your seat, Reg said. She ignored him and nodded toward Lucien's laptop. Show me what our friends at the Golden Palms have been hiding. The first video was time-stamped 8:02 p.m. The camera panned across the glittering dining hall of the Golden Palms, white tablecloths, chandeliers shaped like seashells, a live band in the corner. Ethan, Bree, and her parents were seated near the terrace. There they are, Alex said softly. The group watched in silence. Bree laughed at something Ethan said. Mrs. Price adjusted the silverware. Mr. Price took photos of everything, including the breadbasket. Looks like the perfect family postcard, Reg muttered. Wait for it, Mendoza said dryly. The footage rolled on, servers gliding past, wine poured, the band playing softly. Everything looked annoyingly pleasant. Lucien clicked ahead. Here's the second angle. After dinner, heading to the show. The next clip came from the Coliseum Hall, a large open-air amphitheater. Guests filled the rows as flamenco dancers twirled under colored lights. Mendoza leaned closer. There, back row. Ethan and Bree sat together, but their posture told a story. The relaxed smiles were gone. Bree's arms were crossed, Ethan leaning toward her, gesturing sharply. Alex frowned. You can practically feel the tension. There's no sound? Reg asked. Lucien shook his head. Muted feeds. Resort privacy policy. God forbid their rich guests get caught saying something human. Ethan stood mid-show, hands moving as if explaining something. Bree shook her head and turned away. Mendoza watched carefully. He's trying to justify something. She's done listening. Then what? Alex asked. Lucien fast-forwarded. Bree got up and left the row. Mrs. Price tried to stop her, but she brushed past. Ethan stayed a few seconds longer, then followed her. The camera outside caught them walking through the hallway, still arguing. Bree's mother trailed behind, her father lingering awkwardly with his phone out, as if unsure whether to intervene or document it. They head toward the villas, Lucien said, switching to the next camera. On the next video, the villa corridor came into view, quiet, palm shadows stretching across the tiles. Bree stormed ahead, robe sleeve fluttering, Ethan following several steps behind. Then he stopped. They could see him standing still at the end of the walkway, running a hand through his hair, turning toward the exit sign. Bree kept walking until she vanished behind the corner. A few seconds later, Ethan turned away and headed for the main gate. Lucien clicked again. The lobby camera picked him up, still in the same clothes, still visibly angry. He walked past reception, waved at a valet, and stepped out into the humid night. The last clip showed him at the resort's front gate, speaking briefly to a cab driver before getting in. The car turned down the road, headlights slicing through the darkness. Timestamp 10:37 p.m. Reg crossed his arms. So he left angry, alone, and by cab. Not exactly a setup for accidental drowning. Alex leaned forward. Do we know where he went? Not yet, Mendoza said, but that cab driver might. Lucien tapped at his keyboard. I'll get the license plate from the footage. We can trace the driver through the local registry. Reg frowned. And the argument? Mendoza closed the laptop with a soft click. We'll find out soon enough. Whatever it was, it sent him into the night and washed him ashore dead next morning." The porch fell quiet again. Finally, Reg said, "I hate to say it, but Thanksgiving really was a killer holiday this year." Mendoza shot him a look that could sand paint off a door. He shrugged. "Too soon?" Alex gave him the side eye. "Always." Chapter 9. "All right," Mendoza said after a while. "We divide and conquer. The sooner we do this, the sooner we get at least some plausible answers." Lucien grinned. "You want Reg and me to handle the cab lead?" "Exactly. Get the plate number from the footage, trace the company, and find the driver. Someone had to see where Ethan went." Reg gave a lazy salute. Mendoza turned to Alex. "You're with me." Alex blinked. "To do what exactly?" "Help me talk to Bree without pressing too hard," Mendoza said. "You know, I can get impatient." "Impatient is a very mild world," Reg muttered. Mendoza rolled her eyes. "Look who's talking. Try not to turn finding a taxi driver into a special op." He thickened his drawl. "I've been a soldier for too long, darlin'. I'm set in my ways." Price's villa looked too peaceful for a place steeped in grief. The shutters were open, letting in salt air and the faint sound of steel drums from the main resort. Mrs. Price answered the door in pastel linen, holding a coffee cup. "Oh, detective, and Alex, dear." Her smile wobbled between politeness and panic. "Please, come in. We were just trying to collect ourselves." Alex smiled softly. "Of course, we don't want to intrude. Just checking in." Bree sat on the couch, wrapped in a robe, her eyes red and swollen. Her father hovered by with an omelet plate. Mendoza took a seat on the edge of an armchair. Alex settled beside Bree. "How are you holding up?" Bree looked down, twisting a tissue in her hands. "I don't know. Everything feels unreal. Yesterday he was here, laughing. And now—" Her voice trailed off. Alex nodded. "It's okay. You don't have to talk about it if you're not ready." Mrs. Price dabbed her eyes theatrically. "Our poor Bree. Such a tragedy. And on Thanksgiving. Of all days." Mendoza cleared her throat. "We understand this is difficult, but I do need to ask a few questions, purely to help us figure out what happened." Bree's posture stiffened. "Like what?" Mendoza opened her notebook. "We reviewed the hotel's security footage from the Thanksgiving night. We noticed that you and Ethan seemed to be arguing during the show and later in the hallway before he left the hotel. Can you tell us what that was about?" Bree's chin lifted, slightly defensive. "We weren't fighting. Not really." Mrs. Price jumped in. "Couples have little disagreements. Perfectly normal." Bree exhaled shakily. "He wanted to go out. There's some club he read about, something with velvet ropes and VIP booths. I was exhausted. The flight, the dinner, the show. I just wanted to go back to the villa and sleep." "So he went out alone?" Mendoza asked. "Yes," Bree said. "He got annoyed and said I was being boring." Her voice cracked. "That's the last time I saw him." Mrs. Price reached over, patting her daughter's arm. "He was probably just restless. You know how men get when they're used to excitement." Harold muttered, "Not all men." "Harold, please." Mendoza kept her tone neutral. "Do you know which club he planned to visit?" Bree shook her head. "He didn't say, just that it was up north somewhere with a real crowd." "Can I have Ethan's phone number?" Mendoza asked. Bree blinked. "Why?" "So we can request tower data and try to trace his last known location. It could help us piece together his movements." After a long pause, Bree sighed and reached for her phone. "Fine." She recited the number while Mendoza jotted it down. Mrs. Price looked scandalized. "You can really track people's phones like that?" Mendoza didn't look up. "Only when they're dead or criminals." "Oh." When the questions wound down, Mendoza closed her notebook gently. "Thank you. We'll let you rest." They stood to leave. Harold followed them to the door, lowering his voice. "Detective Alex, how's Shannon holding up? We've been meaning to call, but Bree—" "She's not doing great," Mendoza said curtly. "You should call your daughter if you're really worried." He looked taken aback. Of course. But she was already halfway down the path. Outside, Alex caught up with her. You didn't have to bite his head off. He's the only one of them with an actual heart. Mendoza's jaw tightened. If he were half as compassionate as he thinks, he'd already know how his other daughter is doing, not ask strangers to look like the good guy. On the other side of the resort, Reg and Lucien stood in front of a small booth near the main gate where cab drivers waited for fares. The midday sun glinted off windshields and chrome bumpers. Lucien held up a printout of the license plate from the footage. We're looking for the driver of this car. An older man with sun-creased skin and mirrored sunglasses raised his hand. That's me. You boys from the station? Lucien flashed his badge. Officer Lucien Carter, San Malvino PD. This is Reg O'Malley, consultant. Consultant, huh? The man said, lighting a cigarette. You one of those private eye types? Nah, retired Navy, Reg said. And I'm not a consultant. I volunteer. The cabbie chuckled. Fair enough. What's this about? Lucien showed him a photo of Ethan Caldwell. Did you drive this man Thanksgiving night? Late evening? The driver squinted, then nodded. Yeah, I remember him. Fancy suit, shiny shoes, smelled like money. Reg cracked a grin. That's him. Guy was wound up, the driver said. Kept checking his watch, talking on the phone. English but fast. Said he needed to get to the North Marina. I told him tourists don't go there. He said he wasn't a tourist. Lucien frowned. The North Marina? You're sure? Positive, the driver said. Asked me to wait 20 minutes. I waited an hour. He never came back. Did you see where exactly he went after he got out? The man shook his head. It was dark. Just saw him walk toward the docks. No lights down there. No guards either. Not a place I'd hang around in a suit. Anyone else around? Reg asked. Couple of guys near the boats. Maybe fishermen, maybe not. I mind my own business. Lucien slipped him a card. If you remember anything else, give us a call. The driver tucked it into his pocket. You think something bad happened to him there? Reg looked toward the glittering ocean. We already know. He washed up dead. The cabbie nodded slowly, the humor gone from his face. Then I hope you find who did it. That place, nothing good comes from it after dark. Chapter 10. What have you got? Reg asked when they all met at the Golden Palms lobby. Alex hesitated. Bree's exhausted, still in shock, but not exactly cooperative. She said she and Ethan argued because he wanted to go clubbing, and she wanted to stay in the villa. Reg arched a brow. Clubbing? After a 5-hour flight, 2 dinners and a show? I mean, they are younger, but not young enough to survive that. Exactly. Lucien rubbed the back of his neck. You're thinking she lied? I'm thinking she edited the truth, Mendoza said. He wanted to go somewhere and she didn't, but not to a club. Reg nodded toward Alex. She looked jumpy to you? Alex sighed. More defensive than jumpy. And Mrs. Price kept jumping in to manage the conversation. Bree shut down every time her mother spoke. What about Ethan's phone number? She gave it up. A minute later, Lucien's fingers were already flying over the keyboard. I've got the tower data request running. It should tell us where the phone last pinged. Reg leaned back. While you're hacking the ether, he turned to Mendoza, we tracked down the taxi driver. He was right out front. Wasn't that hard? And? He dropped off Ethan at the North Marina. North side? Mendoza frowned. That place is a maze of docks. I don't have jurisdiction past the shore. Half those vessels are registered to shell companies under foreign flags. Exactly, Reg said. Not exactly a tourist attraction. Driver said Ethan asked him to wait 20 minutes, Lucien added. He waited an hour but never came back. Alex folded her arms. So, Bree claims he went clubbing, but he went to a marina instead. Why lie about that? Guilt, Mendoza said flatly, or she knew where he was going and it's not savory enough of a place to disclose according to Mrs. Price. Lucien glanced up. You think she's part of the scam? Mendoza didn't answer right away. I think she knew enough. Or, Alex said quietly, She's lying because she doesn't want to believe Ethan was murdered. Reg nodded. Denial's one hell of a survival tool. Did she ask about him, by the way? Actually, she did not. They fell silent for a moment, the hum of the tourist traffic filling the gap. Mendoza checked her watch. All right, here's the problem. If we go poking around the marina asking about a dead tourist, nobody's going to talk. And if we start questioning the wrong people, we might lose our chance to find whoever he met. So what's the plan? Reg asked. Right now I want to see if that phone's still alive. Lucien frowned at the screen. Give me a second. Tower response coming in. The progress bar slowly crept forward. Reg drummed his fingers on the armrest. Lucien straightened suddenly. Got it. Everyone leaned closer. The phone's still active, he said, scrolling. Last ping, 2 hours ago. Where? Mendoza asked. Lucien zoomed in on the map. The GPS marker blinked near the northern coastline. Reg frowned. That's not the resort district. No, Lucien said slowly. It's a dive bar. He squinted at the name on the map. The Rusty Anchor. Mendoza's brow furrowed. Never heard of it. Neither have I, Alex said. Reg exhaled, eyes narrowing. That doesn't sound good. Lucien, do we have anything on it in our database? Lucien shook his head after a few keystrokes. Nada. None. Mendoza leaned forward. All right, she said. Looks like our next lead is waiting for us in a bar no one's ever heard of. Lucien's eyes stayed fixed on the screen. If the phone is alive, he said, someone is using it. Mendoza closed her notebook and stood up. Then we'd better find out who. Chapter 11. Mendoza took out the dusty bulletproof vest from her cruiser. You all go home, she said, adjusting the straps. I'll go check out that dive bar. I'm not okay with you going alone, boss, Lucien said. You always forget to carry your gun, and the colonel here doesn't even have one. Maybe we get some intel on the place before you barge in without backup? Lucien, I do appreciate your concern, she sighed, but we don't have enough time to ask around or Google. The phone can go dead any moment and we'll lose our only lead. I think we know just the person who'll know what kind of hole this is, Reg said, already pulling out his phone. Carlos? Alex guessed. He gave her a small grin. The one and only. The line clicked after the second ring. San Malvino's award-winning pastry chef/diva at your service, Carlos said with his signature theatrical rhythm. Hey, Carlito, need intel? Reg leaned back, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. You ever hear of a place called the Rusty Anchor? There was a short pause, followed by a low whistle. Oh, honey, Carlos said with a hint of worry in his voice. Compared to that place, Mamacita's is a nunnery. Even the jukebox there has a record, and not the musical kind. Mendoza raised an eyebrow at Reg, who gestured for silence. Carlos went on, It's not a bar, it's a warning label. Smugglers, dealers, a few guys the Coast Guard pretends don't exist. Why, you going there for the cocktails? Something like that, Reg said. A phone we're tracking pinged there. Carlos let out a sound halfway between a groan and a laugh. If you plan on walking into that place undercover the way you showed up here, just don't. Not that kind of circus. Tell Angela to get at least half a dozen of San Malvino's finest. Mendoza reached for the phone. Hey, Carlos, I won't get an authorization for a full-blown operation over a lost cell phone. Carlos chuckled softly. Then trust me, honey, you'll get a raise for all the arrests you make at that place. Reg took the phone back. Appreciate it, brother. You ever need anything? Carlos interrupted, tone sincere now. I know, you got my back. Pop in sometime. I got a special delivery of tequila and I would hate to drink it alone. Reg smiled faintly. You got it. By afternoon, the sun hung heavy and bright over the North Marina. The Rusty Anchor was exactly what its name promised, a corrugated metal box slouching between two boat repair sheds with a sun-bleached sign missing half the letters. Lucien checked his tablet, sweating into his bulletproof vest. Signals still active, 50 feet ahead, inside the building. Mendoza surveyed the entrance. 2 uniformed officers waited behind her, hands resting on their belts. All right, she said. You two cover the back. We go in nice and easy." Reg patted Bombay's head. "Are you ready for a brief unretirement, buddy?" Inside, the rusty anchor looked and smelled like an old can of sardines. A ceiling fan creaked, pushing warm air in lazy circles. 3 men nursed beers at a table. Another slept on his arm in the corner. The bartender didn't even look up. Mendoza flashed her badge. "San Malvino Police. Stay where you are." The men froze. Lucien scanned the room. Trackers moving toward the back exit. Reg and Bombay slipped toward the door. Outside, the sunlight blazed white off the concrete. A man stood near the dumpster, smoking nervously and watching the boats. He caught sight of Reg and flinched. "Afternoon," Reg called casually. "Mind if I ask?" The man bolted. "Go, boy," Reg said to Bombay. The dog launched forward, sand flying. The man didn't get 3 steps before Bombay cut him off, snarling him back against an old freezer behind the bar. The cigarette hit the ground. The man didn't try for another. Lucien appeared with the tablet. "Got him. That's the signal. Phone's in his pocket." "I just found it on the beach," the man stammered. "I was gonna turn it in." "Of course you were," Lucien said to the man, then turned and screamed through the back door. "Guys, need some cuffing assistance here." The uniforms closed in, handcuffs snapping with a metallic click. Mendoza turned toward the doorway. "Close the place down," she told one of them. "I want every license, permit, and health violation written up." The officer blinked. "You think this place has any licenses?" Mendoza smirked. "I guess we caught 2 rabbits today." Chapter 12. The ceiling fan hummed lazily in Mendoza's office, scattering the smell of takeout. "I finally cracked the phone," he said, dropping into a chair. "And before you ask, yes, I took a power nap, technically." Mendoza looked up from her paperwork. "Define technically." "I blinked very slowly for 20 minutes while files decrypted." "I think that would be buffering in your O terms." Reg leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "So, what's our deceased crypto bro been hiding?" Lucien turned the screen toward them. "Texts between Ethan Caldwell and our favorite new friend Rico Morales. He contacted Rico about fake passports that would pass the inspection in Cuba and a yacht. Conversation started about 2 weeks ago. He used a different alias, David R. But Rico's number matches the one we found in his call log." Mendoza leaned closer. "Let me guess. Payment in Bitcoin?" "Yep." Rico gave him a wallet address. Ethan transferred him the first half and promised the rest the night of Thanksgiving. There's also a file attachment. Passport mock-ups. 1 male, 1 female. Reg straightened. "Female?" "Let me guess again. Late 20s to early 30s, brunette, big city type?" Lucien nodded. "So Bree didn't decide to tag along with her parents out of the blue. Her visit was planned." Lucien scrolled down. Last message time-stamped 10:41 p.m. Ethan, "Leaving the resort now, be there in 20. Then Rico, "The yacht's called the Sea Maiden. Left side of the 3rd dock. That's it." He double-clicked a folder. The crypto app opened, flashing a red warning. The crypto wallet locked. Too many incorrect passwords. Lucien put down the phone. "I tried the saved password from autofill, but it's wrong. Someone changed it remotely. He never got back in." Mendoza's expression hardened. "And because of that, we found Ethan's body." She snapped her notebook closed. "Let's see what Rico has to say." The only interrogation room in San Malvino police station smelled of government-issue disinfectant and regret. Rico Morales sat slouched in the metal chair, eyes darting between Mendoza and the evidence bags on the table, Ethan's phone, his own phone, and a glossy printout of the chat log. Mendoza didn't waste time. "You want to tell me how your name ended up in a dead man's messages?" Rico rubbed the back of his neck. "Lady, I don't kill tourists. I run charters. I move things, sometimes people, but I don't kill anyone." "Funny," Mendoza said, sliding the printout closer. "You were supposed to move Ethan Caldwell and a woman to Cuba, only he didn't make it past your dock." "I didn't mean to—" He stopped himself, clenching his teeth. You didn't mean to what? Sell him a yacht and forget to mention the murder package? Rico glared. I didn't kill him on purpose. He's the one who tried to screw me over. Mendoza's voice stayed even. Explain. Rico shifted in his chair, the will to fight draining from his face. He contacted me 2 weeks ago through a friend, said he needed new paperwork, new names, new passports, fast. I told him I could make it happen. It's not a hard job here. People vanish all the time. We agreed on a price, half in advance, half when the boat left port. And the night he died? Mendoza asked. He showed up late, fancy suit, acting nervous. I asked for the payment. He took out his phone and started tapping. Then he says, "It's not working. Maybe the app is on maintenance." Like hell it was. Rico slammed his hand on the table. You don't mess with me like that. I thought he was lying, so I grabbed him by the collar, told him to unlock it. He kept saying it wasn't his fault, that he'd fix it later. I lost my temper, hit him once, just once, with the bat I keep on my boat for this kind of cases. He went down and rolled off straight into the water. And you didn't pull him out. I tried, Rico's voice cracked. But it was dark, and the current's strong there. I didn't know he couldn't swim. By the time I got to him, he was gone. Mendoza's tone turned icy. How did he end up at the Golden Palms? Rico's eyes flicked up, desperate. I panicked. Couldn't leave him there. The marinas watched. I thought, if I move him, maybe they'll think it happened somewhere else. So I loaded him into my dinghy, took him down the coast and dropped him near that fancy resort. I figured his girlfriend would get the message not to mess with Rico Morales. Mendoza stared at him for a long moment, then leaned back. Well, congratulations. Message received. He slumped forward, muttering into his hands. She stood gathering her notes. You'll be charged with manslaughter and obstruction. I'll make sure the prosecutor knows you cooperated. Eventually. When the door closed behind her, Reg exhaled through his teeth. So that's that. Smuggler with an ego, tourist with a scam, and one locked wallet between them. Now we know who killed him. We just don't know who locked him out. Reg nodded. Guess we're due another family visit. Chapter 13. Morning laid itself softly over the porch. Blue sky, the hush of tide, the clink of mugs. Alex poured coffee while Bombay sprawled under the table, chin on paws, radiating the kind of calm only a retired K9 on a very early hour can muster. Shannon slipped through the garden gate like she wasn't sure she was invited. Permission to enter the sanctuary, she said, trying to sound nonchalant. Granted, Alex said, already passing a mug. Cream? Whatever fixes last week. She sat, wrapped both hands around the hot mug, and stared at the steam for a moment. Okay, tell me. Reg leaned on the rail. We recovered Ethan's phone at a bar near the North Marina. It led us to a guy named Rico, local fixer. He admitted Ethan came to pay for fake passports and a boat out to Cuba. The payment failed. Rico got angry, hit him. Ethan fell in, drowned. Rico moved the body to the resort to send a message. Shannon blinked. A message to who? To Bree. Something flickered across Shannon's face, surprise, then anger, then the old automatic defense. Bree had no idea Ethan was that. She swallowed. She wouldn't. She's Bree. Lucien joined them, laptop tucked under one arm. We pulled the text from Ethan's phone. 2 passports were ordered. Male, female, late 20s/early 30s. Shannon's laugh came out small and humorless. Of course it was perfect. My stupid Thanksgiving invitation played right into their hand. She looked at Mendoza. What happens now? We still have a gap, Mendoza said evenly. The crypto wallet was locked. Rico claims Ethan said it was on maintenance. It wasn't. Someone changed the password. Shannon took that in, the skin around her eyes tightening. You think Bree did it? I think she's the only one whose motive fits, Mendoza said. Change the password, stop the payment, stop the escape. And get him killed, Shannon whispered. No, Alex said softly. She couldn't know what would happen. Intent matters, Mendoza added. So does obstruction. She set her mug down. You asked what happens now. I'm going to question Bree. If she changed that password, I'll note full cooperation. I'll make sure her statement is clear. But Shannon— I know, Shannon said, staring at the grain of the table. You can't look the other way because she's my sister. I can't, Mendoza said. And you wouldn't want me to. Not really. Shannon let out a breath that sounded like surrender and relief at the same time. No, I wouldn't. Bombay's tail thumped once under the table. Shannon nudged his shoulder with her foot, then stared out at the horizon. You know what's funny? She said finally. I spent my whole childhood trying to convince my parents that I wasn't the irresponsible one, that the mess around me wasn't me. If Bree did this, if she changed that password, I don't even know how to feel. Numb is a feeling too, Alex said, patting Shannon's hand. You don't have to feel one thing. Give yourself time. Okay, do your job, detective. She looked up at Mendoza. Just, Angela, treat her like she's my sister, not a perp. Mendoza nodded. That I can do. Shannon drained the last of her coffee and stood. I want to be there, not inside, she said quickly, catching Mendoza's look. Outside. I'll wait in the hallway. Your call, Mendoza said. Yeah, Shannon said softly. For once. She rubbed Bombay's ear, gave Alex a quick squeeze, and followed Mendoza down the steps. Reg watched them go. You okay? He asked Alex. No, Alex said, but that's never stopped us before. The interview room was small, quiet, and sunlit along one edge where the blinds never quite closed. Bree sat at the table with both hands folded like she was taking an exam. The resort robe was gone. She wore a crisp blouse and slacks, as if dressing business casual would make everything better. Her eyes were still swollen. Mendoza set a bottle of water down, then placed 2 evidence photos side by side, the text thread with Rico and the wallet lockout screen. We're recording, Mendoza said. You can stop at any point to ask for clarification. Do you want an attorney present? Bree shook her head. No, I just want this to be over. It will be over pretty fast if you tell the truth, Mendoza said. Did you know about the passports? Bree's chin lifted half an inch. Yes. Did you agree to go? Silence. Then, yes. Did you know how Ethan made his money? Bree winced. He said it was crypto arbitrage, legal but complicated. I didn't ask to see the paperwork. When did you realize it wasn't legal? A beat. When I saw the cards, she said quietly. In his wallet. Different names. I asked, he said it was client funds, and I didn't understand how portfolios worked. Her mouth twisted. I do, actually, but I wanted to believe him. She stopped. You wanted the life he offered, Mendoza finished. Bree nodded once. It sounded like freedom, new names, the ocean, no deadlines. We decided San Malvino would be a convenient cover, Thanksgiving with my sister, and then we'd leave. It was all so neat. What changed? Bree stared at the tabletop as if she could chance a different answer into appearing. Reality, she said finally. We got here, and I saw Shannon's life, not the proverbial tropical island, the actual life, the mess, the small town vibes, the constant humidity. It's not a postcard, it's one endless sweaty Tuesday, forever. Her laugh was small and mean, but only toward herself. I'm not built for that. I like cities. I like trains that show up when they should and Starbucks and big malls. Did you tell Ethan you'd changed your mind? Mendoza asked. I tried, at the show. That's what we argued about. She looked up. He told me I could meet him tomorrow at noon if I came to my senses, like I was a child who needed a nap. Is that when you changed the password? Mendoza asked. Bree's throat worked. Yes. How? It's a shared security vault app he set up months ago. He's clever. He liked everything neat. The wallet had a recovery phrase saved there. I changed the master password and disabled his biometric login. She blinked fast. I thought, if he can't pay tonight, he'll have to wait. Then he'll calm down. We'll talk. He'll see it's a terrible idea. And you didn't think about the consequences, Mendoza said. Bree swallowed. I didn't think he'd get hurt. I didn't think that man would... Her voice faltered. I thought the worst thing would be Ethan being angry at me. Mendoza slid the photo of the chat log a fraction of an inch, the paper rasped loud in the quiet. He met a smuggler who doesn't like being cheated. He died because the money wasn't there. That sequence matters. Bree pressed the heel of her hand to one eye. I know. Why lie about clubbing? Mendoza asked. My parents. The words dropped like pebbles. If they heard marina and passports, they'd know. I didn't want them to know. I didn't want Shannon to... She cut herself off. It doesn't matter. It does, Mendoza said. You're going to give a full statement. You're going to testify if asked. And you're going to accept that your actions have consequences even if your intentions didn't. Bree nodded, a stiff little movement. I'll cooperate. Mendoza's gaze softened by a millimeter. Good. A shadow moved at the window, Shannon in the hallway, not close enough to hear, just a silhouette in the slatlight. Mendoza stood and opened the door. 5 minutes, she told Bree. Then she stepped into the hall and nodded once at Shannon. She told the truth. Shannon's shoulders dropped as if someone had unhooked an anvil. All of it? Enough of it, Mendoza said. She changed the password. Shannon looked past her to the small room, to the sister who'd always been framed at a better angle. She's going to be charged? Mendoza didn't sugarcoat. She may face obstruction, depends on how the prosecutor reads it, but her cooperation helps, and Rico's confession is clear. Shannon nodded, slow. Can I... Mendoza stepped aside. Bree stood when Shannon entered. For a moment, neither moved. 2 women with the same mouth, the same stubborn brow, suddenly seeing it. I'm sorry, Bree blurted. For what? Shannon asked. It came out sharper than she planned. Everything, the dinner, the lie, Ethan, the... Bree's breath hitched. I didn't mean... I know, Shannon said, surprising herself. You didn't mean to get him killed. Bree flinched like the word itself stung. I didn't mean to be this person. Join the club, Shannon said. She crossed the room and leaned against the table because her legs were not currently trustworthy. Do you remember when you called my art underwhelming? Bree's face crumpled. I was awful. You were, Shannon said. We both were. Different competitions. Same judges. She glanced toward the hallway where their parents weren't, for once, running the broadcast. Here's the thing. I don't want your life. And you don't want mine. And that's totally fine. That's not a failure. Bree let out a bitter laugh. I'm going to have to tell them, she said, Mom and Dad, about all of it. Yeah, Shannon said, and I'm not going to fix it for you. I wouldn't ask you to, Bree said. Bree wiped her eyes with the edge of her sleeve. Shan? Yeah? I don't think I'm brave enough for paradise. Shannon huffed a small laugh. Most people aren't. Chapter 14. By the time Mendoza's car pulled up to Alex and Reg's gate, the afternoon had turned to gold. Reg looked up from the grill, squinting against the light. You're back early. No one handcuffed themselves to a gate? Mendoza killed the engine, climbed out, and stretched. Tempting as that was, no. Mission accomplished. Lucien waited for Shannon trailing behind them, quieter than usual, but standing straighter than anyone expected. Alex met them at the porch with a tray of glasses already sweating in the heat. Everyone alive? Barely, Mendoza said, accepting a drink. Shannon's parents and sister are on a flight to Miami. From there, O'Hare. Shannon sat down slowly. So, that's it? Almost. Mendoza leaned against the railing. Chicago PD will meet the plane. Bree knows it. We gave her a choice. Full cooperation, full restitution. If she turns over the crypto keys and lists every investor Ethan defrauded, the prosecutor will push for probation instead of prison. Reg whistled softly. That's more mercy than most con artists get. She wasn't the con, Mendoza said. Just the believer. Shannon's mouth twitched. I still can't wrap my head around all of it. Lucien sank into a chair beside her. Hey, you meant well. Planned a family reunion. It's not your fault everything went wrong. She gave him a sideways look. Low bar, Lucien. Still counts, he said. Bombay patted over and dropped his head on Shannon's knee like an emotional support anvil. She scratched behind his ear. You know, when we were kids, Bree used to say she'd live somewhere warm and beautiful one day. I thought she meant happiness. Turns out she meant latitude. Mendoza smiled faintly. Warm and beautiful is easy. Staying put, that's the hard part. Reg flipped the last of the fish onto a platter. You'd think people would realize the island life isn't a postcard. It's traffic and humidity and neighbors who know your dog's bowel schedule. Alex laughed. But also sunsets like that. She nodded toward the horizon, where the sky was bleeding coral and indigo. Paradise is a perspective. Or a delusion, Mendoza said dryly. Same thing most days, Reg replied, setting the food down. What matters is you earn it. They ate outside, the table lit by the slow flicker of citronella candles. Conversation thinned until it was just waves and crickets. After a while, Shannon said quietly, I always thought Bree was the brave one. She moved, she risked, she climbed. But maybe it takes more courage to stay somewhere and build something. Alex reached across the table and touched her hand. Exactly. Reg raised his glass. To staying, not because it's easy, but because you found your place. Lucien clinked his glass against Shannon's. And to visiting relatives who eventually leave. That earned real laughter, the kind that unknots things. Bombay sighed under the table, the universal signal that peace had been restored. For a long time they sat in that lazy island hush, the kind that comes only after too many secrets and too many good intentions gone sideways. Above them, the first stars blinked through. Somewhere far off, a plane took off toward Chicago, carrying the people who couldn't stay. This has been Death by Family Ties, a hilarious, feel-good, cozy mystery. Book 16 in the Island Whodunit series, written by Tess Marlowe. Thank you for listening.